or whatever time it is when you're watching this. For me, it's morning. The sun coming up over the mountains. As soon as I hit record, there's a helicopter coming right around the corner. So we'll just deal with that. There's going to be maybe more of that in the middle of a city, although it doesn't really look like it. So today I wanted to summarize some thoughts on basically what I've been discussing over the last videos. Really, it doesn't just apply to certain topics like what I've been focusing on. I've just been using voluntarism as an example of really, when it comes down to it, just saying things and labeling things and being in a movement doesn't mean much, is what I've found. And it oftentimes leads to dead ends, backwards thinking, and even, the opposite of what you were trying to achieve. And I've experienced this in my own life, personally. Even recently, you have an idea and a project, and this project is going to free you or free up time or enable you to do A, B, C, D, and then it doesn't end up working out that way. And that can be well, it's not necessarily hard to deal with because you kind of come to learn that that's just how things work, but you learn a lot, and that's what some of this is like imparting the wisdom that I've gained through trial and error, and then framing that in a way that could hopefully help other people that I see out there or that I know that might be kind of doing the same thing with like voluntarism or something like that. Anyway, so really, when it comes down to it, just saying things and labeling yourself something isn't the same thing as what your actions are, or what you create, the fruits of your labor, right? What ends up coming out of your actions. And what I see out there is a lot of talking and a lot of clamor and t-shirts, and that's funny, I'm wearing a t-shirt from an old podcast that I had, roughly dressed because I'm out here hiking. I'm not going to get dressed up. And so, speaking from experience here, no, I'm just kidding. There's a lot of that and not a lot of action, and I don't just mean oh, we got a deer over here, or a guy. No, it's a guy. Closer to the main trail. We'll cut that out. It's the first time I've had to do an edit. Maybe I won't. Alright, on these live streams anyway, so I just, I feel weird walking by people. Maybe I'll get over that. So not a lot of doing, but a lot of talking. And you'll see, a lot of the times these people will have some kind of alternative lifestyle. And so again, I don't mean just blind action. When I say we see people not acting, I mean they are acting and doing a lot of things. And like I said, there's a lot of conferences and podcasts and books and speeches, and a lot of followers of all these things too. And people like to get involved and feel like they're making a big change, with what they're doing. But that kind of action, especially when you go and find an ism and a label and a group to follow, can really be, it does nothing, basically, is what I'm trying to say. And can lead nowhere. Really fast. Sorry, there's just like rustling around up here. I'm just like, what am I coming upon here? It's like mostly just birds, probably. So, what about working on a positive relationship with your spouse, your significant other, and your family, and the people in your life that you want to maintain relationships with? And, working on other aspects of your life. Maybe there's people in your life that you need to remove, and you're procrastinating that. Things that don't require ism, How about parentism or grandparentism, or just being a good husband or wife, or working on yourself to get started on a positive relationship and building a family, and I'm a populationist, so okay, this time it is a deer. I wish I could have got that. He's gone though. Yeah, see, I've seen a lot of deer up here, so that's why I was like waiting for that one. That was like maybe a 1-2-year-old. Okay, I can get him. He's jumping along there. Let's see. He's down the hill there, but so it's something you'll see a lot of is people in these movements. Seems like they've kind of like abandoned, aspects of their life, and then are in some kind of like post-traumatic stress situation, and like the constant feedback loop of like getting involved and being active and telling other people what to do ends up like fulfilling that issue or whatever's going on with them, right? So a lot of the time you'll see like a chaotic situation in their family life or in their work life, and the work that they're doing, or so-called work and actions that they're taking, are kind of filling the void of this. Yeah, that deer's way gone. So what I was saying, before that deer kind of interrupted, was I'm a populationist, and I don't think that the world is overpopulated. So for me, the solution is not necessarily just creating more people. I mean, because you could say, well, now we have the ability to clone people, so if you're a populationist, let's just clone people endlessly until we have whatever. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying, it definitely starts from the ground up, and we need healthy people, psychologically healthy people, creating positive, healthy families, and an environment for children that allows them to gain their confidence and be autonomous, self-sufficient participants, and be in control of their life. And that doesn't come from broken up families and welfare situations. I'm not saying with that statement that people shouldn't be charitable. So I know that's how people hear it, but I can be opposed to welfare, like from the state and the government, and pro charity. I know that's a complete, wild out there concept, even though it's not, and it's been done, and it's actually currently going on still. And people aren't naturally evil or something, so they would be charitable. Anyway, give me a sec. Come here. I was almost like smelling a skunk. What are you doing? Man, you stay on the trail, please. Damn dog. It's going all over the place this morning. So, what I'm saying is, notice the people out there that are always trying to sell you things, and then you need to be ultra skeptical, or definitely you may still take in their material, but keep in mind, if there's always a sales pitch, that's a big red flag. And then B, their work / family life. And I know, like, I'm not saying that like people need to be traditional 9-to-5ers, and that's not what I mean by work life. I'm not necessarily an absolute traditional 9-to-5er. I get my work done, absolutely. But it's not just, 9-to-5 standard office hours all the time. So I'm not just like, I'm trying to clarify, and I keep having to double clarify things because I know how people take things, I'm one to get in conversations with people. So even the populationist thing, my argument there, I've had this discussion with many people once I start to kind of identify them as like the science cult type people that, buy into the 100% climate agenda of, the human beings are a cancer, a parasite on this planet, and we're destroying everything, and it's our problem that we just need to depopulate. I mean, how many people out there are depopulationists? It's all covered and flowered in all this language of science, and which doesn't mean anything. Science doesn't mean, it's a very hollow, meaningless fallacy, really, to appeal to scientific communities and things like that. It doesn't ever mean that it's good or that we should do something just because it's scientific or mathematic. There's a lot of evil things that can be scientific. How about mustard gas or Agent Orange spraying on the Vietnamese people, and the government and the military and Monsanto testing chemicals in the name of science on the Vietnamese people. Since that's a scientific study they were doing, is that good? Since they found results that said this thing and that thing, does that mean it's good? No, it doesn't. Of course not. And so, just saying that the world is overpopulated based on science and this is what we need to do because here's all the evidence that we're doing this and that, it's there can be arguments to be had there. I'm for clean air. I'm for doing things better with how animals are treated and how things are done. But in my opinion, and it's not just my opinion, this is written about far and wide with the people who've are eugenicists and who want to depopulate the planet, not to actually save the planet, but just to more easily control the people on the planet and save the resources for them and their families. And it's a very fear-based thing that goes back to like Thomas Malthus, Malthusian philosophy is like still actually quite prevalent, and it's now masked in the green agenda and the greening of everything. But it's all from like the 1800s, mid 1800s. You know, it's not like all from there and it's so simple and here's what you need to know. It's not what I'm saying, but you know, Charles Darwin, these are things people are familiar with, and the theory of evolution, and was all really just eugenics, race-based theory. And you can go back, and I've definitely gone way more into depth on this in my Creature of Control episode 3. It's like eugenics, crypto eugenics, and the theory of relativity or something like that. I don't remember the exact title. It's been almost 5 years since I worked on that, and it's on my website, tylerboyer.com, in the feed section. But a lot of people that you'll get in discussions with about, you know, the world being overpopulated, they don't even understand eugenics, and they don't even understand the science of eugenics and the whole tie back to where their whole theory comes from. You know, so Charles Darwin's book, The Origin of Species, was really a race-based theory, eugenics take on things that wanted to prove the superiority of certain genetics. That being, you know, British white people were superior to everybody else on the planet. And now here's the scientific evidence to prove it. And we'll throw in the links to that. I want people to go look at the original title of the book. So go look for yourself. And they didn't teach you that in your public indoctrination camp, did they? No, it was all, you know, oh, this is another option, you know. And it to me, it was like framed as this like alternative to religious thinking, and it tied in with the Big Bang Theory. And it all kind of probably does in some way in the end. But these things are theorized and meant. I mean, I know people personally who are like, I'm not going to have as many kids because, you know, this place is all screwed up and it's just a big hellhole. And like literally they have totally 100% bought into it. And they're making decisions in their life to not have a family. And then, or they might wait. And then it becomes too late. And, you know, in my opinion, the most effective way to change the world in a positive direction is through having first done a massive amount of healing and continuing to improve yourself every day and learn as much as you can, not just about random things, but about nature and reality, and study, you know, how you work and how things work around you, to the point where you can create a positive situation and positive conditions in your life and make space for a positive relationship. And then through that positive relationship will produce healthy, happy, positive, independent, autonomous children, hopefully. You know, that's something we can focus on to change things for the better. Of course, there's other things to do, and of course, that's not everybody's path. But if you have the ability to do that, and I don't necessarily like to just speak about things that I don't have experience with, so currently I feel like this is, what I'm working on. So it's not like I'm just tooting my own horn and blah blah blah. It's actually, what I should discuss is what I have experience with, and not just trying to say things like, oh, the nonviolent communication of the non-aggression principle, voluntarism, interaction, and all these other things that are just fluff and nonsense, The cult of action is very similar to the death cult of eugenics and depopulation. They weave a similar web, And what I'm going to be uncovering over the upcoming work that I'm putting together, a presentation, some of the sections are on that exact topic, and libertarianism and the similarities between libertarianism and Satanism. And there's so many similarities. I mean, the philosophy, especially like Anton LaVeyan, Satanism, is like almost exactly the same as libertarian philosophy. And there's definitely some tie-ins that are going to be of interest to talk about. I'm sorry I'm out of breath. I'm on more of a hill than I thought, and it's like sandy. I'm like dodging the horse poop, and my dog's getting into all kinds of trouble. So, but exactly what the solution is for each individual person may not be the same. But what we are starting to discover through the process of negation, which is oftentimes what you have to do if you want to try to discover the truth, is find out what not to do, right? And with these isms, any kind of ism or hyphened thing, movement, is generally, what I'm finding, going to lead you in the wrong direction. And people may have actually a lot of positive feedback that come out of being involved with these things. But, it's hard to put into words, but like, just because there's a lot of other people doing it doesn't make it right. I guess it's not that hard to put into words. It's like, just because you're finding there's a lot of other voices that are kind of coming along and saying and feeling and thinking the same way as you have to be very careful when that is the case. Right? So just keep this video brief today. The sun is up. It means I better get going. Get some things done. Probably been really shaky, and I'm gonna have to edit out some parts, but keep an eye out. We're gonna be doing I'll be doing TylerBloyer.com live stream. I'll try to do it this weekend, so try to subscribe to the YouTube channel, even though I don't really care one way or the other. I mean, I have seems like BitChute and Steemit are doing quite a bit better. So, but the live streaming, I want to get used to it, and I'm definitely not pro Google. We'll have to do a show on that as well, though, like my opinion about all the censorship and these like Orwellian platforms, that are like Big Brother platforms, and my personal opinion about being involved with them, which is probably just better not to be, but also my own experience of being super judgmental of other people using those platforms. And it's kind of like, you know, it's not the worst thing that you could do, I guess. Like, if you look out at the conditions and like the priority of things that need to be addressed, like, do your thing, man, you know, get out there and work on your stuff. And maybe not, I'm even talking to myself, like, not be so nitpicky about, you know, every little thing, and try not to live in total contradiction. Like don't use, here comes somebody, see, that's what I should be doing. You know, if you're going to be involved, basically, if you're not living under the laws of nature and you've chosen to subject yourself to man's law and to governments and to obeying that God, basically, then deal with that, you know, and study maybe about natural law, and don't live in the contradiction of saying that you're following natural law and that you're a voluntarist and that you're a libertarian and all these other things, when your actions are that of, you know, a heathen slave, you know, somebody who doesn't behave in any of the ways that you say. So that's just even more of a contradiction, is what I'm trying to say. Let's work out of where we're at, you know. Let's get out of the conditions that we're in. Let's study the laws of nature and how to live in harmony with one another and with nature, and how to make things the most prosperous for ourselves and for everyone, while admitting fully that we've taken the other side. You know, currently that's not the side that we've chosen by our actions, and that's what matters. And that's kind of what I was trying to summarize in this video, was, you know, before it got a little chaotic with some of with the dog situation. So that doesn't mean that I have the answer either. That doesn't mean that I'm going to see. Freedom is the path of the individual, not any group or collective. So somebody will say, well, then if it's not voluntarism, then what do you suggest? And that's the thing. No, I've just pointed out major contradictions, and contradictions aren't found in nature, and so they should be removed, even from your thinking and your actions, for sure. Otherwise you're acting against nature, knowingly or unknowingly. And then you need to move forward through that. There isn't someone who comes along and gives you the next handle. That's what you've been doing this so far. You've been looking for the ism to wear to feel safe, so that you're not, you know, completely out of the herd, completely out of the collective mind. That there's still large pieces of land to grab onto, or whatever, however you want to put it. So, but you need to let go. You need to untether from that as well, especially if there's contradictions there in the logic. And I've not had, and I've been, you know, kind of pondering over this for the last year or two. I've really not found any good arguments besides just, like, you know, outrage or kicking me out of a group because I'm, you know, on forums. I've had debates on this topic, mainly to get feedback, because I was already kind of settled in what I had come to find. I usually will take some time to think about something before I go posting it online or arguing with it about people online. You know, you won't usually find me in an argument about something online that I've not taken time to consider. And when I mean argument, I don't mean the childish interpretation of what people think I mean. I'm talking about discourse, taking your ideas to battle. If you have philosophical concepts that you're going to rest your opinions on in your life and your actions moving forward, you have to make sure they're sound. Well, the best way to do that is internally, initially, to the point where it's refined enough that it can be brought up against, somebody who's maybe a lot more intelligent than you, a lot more witty, someone who maybe is trained in the art of discourse and debate and philosophy. And see if your argument stands and be honest about it. And with that being said, we'll look forward to seeing you all again soon. Let me know what you think, and have a good one.